Hi, and welcome back to the Church Brain Podcast. This week's episode builds on Monday's briefing when leadership gets harder than you expected, and boy, doesn't it. Well, if you've been in ministry for any length of time, you have felt this moment. Things start with clarity. Everything's clear. We're going in a certain direction. Everybody's on board. There's energy. There's direction. Well, and then at some point, it just gets harder. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but you've reached a point where leadership starts to become costly. And that's what I want to talk about today. You see, most leaders are not prepared for this moment. I wasn't the first time it happened to me. Leaders expect leadership to be challenging, but we assume the challenge comes from complexity or workload. There's so many decisions to make, or I've just got 80 hours worth of things to do. What we don't expect often is the internal resistance, the relational tension, and, well, frankly, the emotional weight that shows up when things begin to shift a little bit. And that's the moment where leaders start asking quieter questions. Is this where I'm supposed to be? Did I misread the call of God? Was this the wrong direction? Why is this harder than I thought it would be? And if you're not careful, this can also be the moment where you either push too hard or you begin to pull back. And really, neither one of those helps. So let me give you 3 ways to lead when leadership gets harder than you expected. Number 1, just recognize where you are. I know it's so simple. Just recognize where you are. You're not at the beginning anymore, or what we call the honeymoon phase, where you've got several months, maybe up to a year, where it seems like you can do no wrong and there's no bad decisions and everything's super simple and easy, but you're not there anymore. In fact, you've moved from vision into the reality of implementing the vision. And reality almost always is going to introduce some resistance. People start to feel the implications of change. It's one of those things where, hey, preacher, pastor, hey, yeah, we're all on board with that until I want to change something that is their pet project, or it's their pet ministry, or something that they're really into. And so now uncertainty increases, clarity decreases. That doesn't mean that you're off track. What it simply means is this: you've reached the part of leadership where people have to adjust, not just agree. See, it's one thing to raise your hand and say, I'm all for it, Pastor. I vote yes for that. But now they're having to make the adjustments, and that's harder. So before you change direction, just name where you are. Maybe you even need to say to yourself, this is the part where leadership gets harder. You might have to repeat that 2 or 3 times to yourself. That one sentence can keep you from abandoning something that actually needs time to take root. Don't give it up 6 weeks in when it gets hard, or even 3 months when it gets hard. It might take 6 months to a year or 3 years before it really begins to take root. Don't quit too soon. Just recognize where you are. All right, here's the second thing for today. Stay steady instead of speeding up. Just put yourself, now, see, I can say cruise control, and we all take that negatively. We all say, oh, you're just on cruise control. Well, but you stay steady on cruise control. You burn less fuel on cruise control. There's some positives to being on cruise control. You see, when things get hard, leaders feel the pressure to fix it quickly. And so we go put out this fire or another fire or this other fire that's popping up, and we feel like the Dutch boy putting our fingers in the wall of leaks that we can't ever completely fix. So you're going to feel the pull to add more meetings, to push for faster decisions, to try to resolve tension immediately. Sometimes people just need to sit in the tension of the decision for a little bit. But you know what? Pressure increases in the room. Instead, here's what you need to do. Your role is to slow down the pace just enough for people to process what's happening. Now, you're not trying to get rid of tension, and you're trying to keep it from becoming chaos. So, steady leadership always beats reactive leadership in these particular moments. All right. Number 3, don't carry this alone. Don't do it. See, this is where a lot of us get into trouble. We Lone Ranger this puppy, and it's just not going to work for you. When leadership gets heavier, we tend to isolate. The tension is out in the room, so we avoid the tension. We go to our office, we hide out, we do these things, or we start remote working more, and we go home and we just spend time around the house. And before long, you could end up in burnout or depression, or anxiety can overwhelm you just because leadership got heavy. Don't isolate yourself. Don't carry it alone. Don't stop talking. Be honest. Carry the weight. But do it in a way with somebody else. Bear one another's burdens, the Bible says. Don't try to manage the situation and your emotions all at the same time. It's just not sustainable. You need 1 or 2 people who can help you process what you're experiencing without fixing it for you. Maybe you need to get a coach to coach you through a little bit about what we're doing here on this podcast. Subscribe to the podcast. Get weekly coaching, somebody to help you through this. Because if you don't have it, you're either going to harden or withdraw, and neither leads well. Let me give you one question to carry into your next leadership moment. Where has leadership become harder than you expected? And how are you responding to that pressure? Are you pushing? Are you pulling back? Or are you staying steady? You see, that question will tell you a lot about how you are leading right now. Leadership always has a point where it stops feeling exciting and it just starts feeling heavy. It doesn't mean you're failing. In fact, it often means you're finally leading something that makes a difference, something that matters. This week, my friends, don't rush past that moment. Stay present in it, stay steady in it, and let it form you as a leader. Now, on Friday, I'm going to follow this up with a short leadership note with a few specific things I would say in the room if you and I were having this conversation. Well, thanks for listening to the Church Brain podcast. If this was helpful, share it with another leader who may be feeling the weight right now. And I'll see you next time.